is a matter of perception. Some choose to stay unhappy about having everything, and some choose to stay happy with the little things he or she has. In life, happiness is a matter of perception. Some choose to stay unhappy about having everything, and some choose to stay happy with the little things he or she has. In life, happiness is a matter of perception. Some choose to stay unhappy about having everything, and some choose to stay happy with the little things he or she has. In life, happiness is a matter of perception. Some choose to stay unhappy about having everything, and some choose to stay happy with the little things he or she has. In life, happiness is a matter of perception. Some choose to stay unhappy about having everything, and some choose to stay happy with the little things he or she has.
As they would say, happiness is our choice, and the little things, again, as they would say, are the ones that matter. Karibu sana. This is Morning Cafe, a beautiful day. Well, good word right there to start the day with. And it's my pleasure to join you and to have you join me again this beautiful morning. It's a Wednesday, the week moving pretty fast. Still so much happening in the scene of politics. And we look at all that. The biggest question that we ask today, just what is happening to devolution? How is the county of Nairobi and how is the county of Nyandarua? What is happening down there? And across many other counties, we'll be having a couple of questions to ask the guests this morning, even as we look at how best we can work on devolution to keep hoping that it will be this one thing that will change the governance aspect and bring services, indeed bring services to the people. Karibu sana. And the hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47K is how you get to interact with us. 22047, the SMS short code, the numbers to call will be running down on your screen. That is to welcome you to be part and parcel of the conversation. Make sure that you drop those comments. We get to sample them as we proceed with the broadcast. As I have said, we'll be looking at whether devolution is under siege or the county governments are working in tandem towards making the best of these special, entities of governance or of government. Importantly also, we do not forget to speak about the coming in of Justice Martha Koome, or Chief Justice Martha Koome, and the changes that are likely to happen in the IEBC. These two bodies I pick on are very instrumental as to what, of course, will be shaping the day in terms of politics moving on. I mean, we're expecting the general elections. We understand how important the courts are and how the IEBC is very important, as many would say, across Africa. There's been this feeling of, uncertainty as to how, of course, the electoral bodies get to handle elections. And therefore, even as we're expecting some adjustments in terms of leadership, that is also to get the quorum on IEBC, it is important that we get to discuss this. Very many individuals have fronted their interest to come and take up the challenge and also fill in the positions that are vacant as at now. And therefore, we'll be discussing the IEBC and generally the possibility of reggae tunes being on. This is after Court of Appeal has considered this as an appeal case of urgency and therefore a push to make sure that this case is listened to as early as possible and probably a conversation deliberated on. Many have looked at this as a clear indication that indeed, with the confidence that Right Honorable Raila Odinga exhibits, that indeed reggae is on, while others say that, well, there are very slim chances of these proponents sailing through, even as they argue their case, trying to challenge what it is that was declared by the High Court. So we look at all that later on. We discuss matters, relationships, and marriage for that matter. Open marriages. Just what is marriage? One would imagine that marriage is marriage. It's either you're married or you're not. But what is this other arrangement, or when did it show up that, you can be married, but at the same time, they consider it open marriage? What is that? We'll be looking at that later on alongside my favorite panelists on matters relationships, that is Mr. and Mrs. Kimani, and therefore a conversation that you do not want to miss out on. Keep asking the questions. If you're in this arrangement and you probably are not comfortable, then you find answers of how you can get yourself off the hook. First things first, the newspapers. And yes, right here, as I have said, I hope I said my name, that is Linda Alela. It's always good to make sure that you do that, in as much as I would want to assume that by now I've said it a million times and therefore I am well known. So here we are, puzzle of millions wired to Somali by Bashir. Is it the case? Well, this is a story captured on page 26. Slain Somali businessman. It's really unfortunate. His family, is mourning. Of course, he has already been buried, but questions continue to linger as to who really wanted him killed. Lots of investigations being conducted and so much also revelations cropping up. We can only wait to see what really played out. But then, as they would say, he was so keen on making sure that he's wired so much to his country. Remember, he's a Somali and an American citizen also, and therefore this conversation is on. Investigations being carried and lots playing out. We'll definitely be here to update you on the same. And of course, this puzzle is yet to be unraveled, or answers still are being sought as to this particular puzzle, or puzzles, whichever way you would want to look at it. On matters politics, President's basket of goodies for Raila's base, a story captured on page 5, as many would say, courtesy of the handshake. Kisumu and the Nyanza region at large has hugely benefited out of this, and therefore President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to commission some of these projects, and importantly also just proceed to open them, and of course they kickstart the activities in what many would look at as that particular moment where, of course, this is something that is hugely going to benefit not just the people of Kisumu, but generally people across the country. A story captured on page 5. We'll be looking at that as we proceed. This also, as we discuss that aspect of devolution, there's some counties that feel like they have gotten the goodies, others feel like they are still being left out in terms of projects and improvements and developments in their respective counties. And so we'll look at that later on. And not forgetting, Safaricom unveils Ethiopia entry plan. Well, that is in regards to business, and of course, congratulations to them, even as they try to spread wings even further. One of the biggest corporate entities in the country and across the African scene. And to more of politics, Uhuru 2022 magic bullet, and plan to sideline Deputy President William Ruto, as the allegations have been there for quite a while now. That is in regards to matter succession politics. We'll also be looking at that later on, especially on the Mount Kenya aspect. And President Kenyatta is reaching out to his handshake partner, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and the leaders of One Kenya movement in the quest for a super alliance that is ahead of next year's polls. A story captured on page 4. We'll be looking at that as we proceed with the broadcast. How successful will he be on this? This, even as across board, all these individuals are worried that, well, there could be some level of shortchanging that is ongoing, and therefore not all of them are confident about this. And matters COVID-19, why ministry COVID numbers aren't adding up. Well, inconsistencies in the COVID-19 numbers reported this past month have raised questions on the veracity of the database. I mean, this has been the case right from the very first time the first case was declared, and most of the Kenyans have exhibited some level of, aspect where they're not confident of what it is that the Ministry of Health is doing in terms of, one, collecting this data and, disseminating the information to the common mwananchi. Of course, the story captured on page 10, in most cases you'll hear it has shot up indefinitely. All before you know it, of course, the numbers are down, and therefore, as many would argue, it's not really clear as to what is the exact picture in the country, especially at a time when, of course, testing is way low or way below. And importantly also to note is that, most of the Kenyans do not really have the confidence that actually these numbers are coming out, from what it is that has clearly been detected or has been collected. Maliku, as Army Strips President and Prime Minister of Powers, President Doe and Mr. Wane were driven by soldiers to the Gotv military camp near the capital, Bamako. It is not all rosy down there. Is a story that we'll be looking at and following up closely in the African scene, just to see whether again these are tenets of the aspect of a revolution again in Mali, as many would have argued. Indeed, the wind of change lingers on Africa's head, and so much is likely to happen across different parts of Africa, different countries, as of course citizens are tired and push for a revolution, push for change in matters leadership, because many continue to grapple in poverty while the resources are here with us, and the leadership really does not do much to make sure that the people enjoy the best of these resources. Wajir governor takes charge as impeached Mohamud fights on. He says that he is still the governor of Wajir, and newly sworn in Governor Ahmed Ali Mukhtar, that is on Tuesday, told of his impeachment former boss, former boss, that is Mohammed Abdi Mohamud, who he insists is still the county's chief. And in a message to Mr. Mohamud, that is Mr. Mukhtar, clarified there was no vacuum in Wajir, and he, together with all the other leaders in the county, will not let chaos and divisions disrupt development. A story captured on page 8. We'll be following up closely on the same. It's not been all rosy there, even as the former boss is in denial in regards to this. And of course, about 10 billion is the amount of money that Wajir County's annual budget, or the annual budget that they get. And the new governor says his former boss dug only 20 boreholes. So much disseminated there. But the question is, where is the accountability? Just how much, do these people get a chance of getting in terms of development? And rest hits parties as race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta gathers pace. Well, top parties are not sitting pretty. As you can see, Jubilee is smarting from losses in by-elections, and Ruto allies are fighting for control of UDA. That is one thing that has made the better part of news this week. And while in ODM, a group of allies like the right of like the likes of Senator James Orengo are fighting those allied to Chairman Mbadi and Minority Whip Junet Mohammed. That is a story that is on the front page of the Standard newspaper. This is totally different, I think. Just hold it right there. And it's also different from what it is that we have here on the front page. So I think we will go with the hard copy. And here's the hard copy. In most cases, you find that what it is that has been captured is sometimes different on the hard copy and on the soft copy. On the soft copy here, we speak of EACC lifts lead on governors, 11 billion wealth, and current and former county bosses battle court cases, even as Kidero eyes Homa Bay top seat, that is in 2022. We'll be looking at this, and we ask this key question: just what is happening in Nairobi? What is happening in Kiambu? What is happening in Nyandarua? What is happening in all these counties that we have today? Do you suppose that there's some element of mafia capture of the counties or devolution at large? Is one thing that we'll be discussing, and we'll also be having this Lane governor, Speaker Wahome of Nyandarua County this morning joining us for the same conversation. Chaos over return of Speaker. Well, after courts reinstated him upon that aspect of impeachment. It is still not all rosy for him, neither is it for the Nyandarua County Assembly, and therefore we discussed that. That is also what has been captured right here, as you can see on the front page. And so make sure that you keep it right here, because it's a conversation that you do not want to miss out on. And so much so also is captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Somalia appears to be entombed in an infinite cycle of volatility. What will it take to set it towards a path to stabilization? It is not all good in Somalia. And I mean, this is a conversation that has been on. Well, this even as they show resistance on what it is that has been proposed, that is first also by the African Union. The other day they say they don't want John Mahama to be deliberating on how best they get that peace, because John Mahama is hugely connected to some individuals in Kenya. And what to them? They say, of course, he will not be the best individual to spearhead that aspect of search for peace in Somalia. And even as the regional integration is destabilized, and hugely, of course, the connection between Kenya and Somalia, being somewhere hanging on the balance. Couple detained over daughter's death. Investigations reveal that the 15-year-old had disappeared from home, and when she resurfaced, she was disciplined. I think that story is one that played out on a Monday, a story captured on page 3. This girl had to lose her life because, of course, she was beaten by the parents, that is the mom and the dad, and also the brother, upon that which I have mentioned, that she had gone home, well, maybe to her boyfriend, as to what the report was speaking of. And then when she came back, in a bid to discipline her, this is what happened. Parties in disarray as 2022 race heats up. Jubilee is smarting from losses, like we have said, and is one thing that we'll be looking at. Is a story captured on page 8, and therefore we'll look or discuss that later on the broadcast. Briefly on what is on the front page of The People Daily. Koome faces tough choices in appeal court crisis. What next for her is one thing that we'll be discussing this morning. While some lawyers suggest the CJ could pursue a diplomatic approach, others maintain that she should let matters play out in court. Well, we can only wait to see. Everyone is eagerly waiting to see what her reign would be like when coming in as the first woman to have handled this particular position. And importantly, taking it up from CJ Maraga, who had historically, placed this position somewhere way at the top of the map. And therefore, it's important to see whether, of course, this coming in of CJ Justice, that is Martha Koome, will be of any difference, or maybe she will maintain the momentum, and also how best then she gets to address the discrepancies that are there and the differences that have been witnessed in the past or recent times between the judiciary and the executive. Kidero cannot explain 8 billion assets, and of course that is to the EACC. Anti-graft agency probes former and serving county chiefs for wealth invested in property, cash in bank accounts, and share. Story captured on page 5, and you can see the faces of these governors that we speak of. We'll be looking at that as we continue this morning. Politicians don't fight it out for IBC jobs, as I had mentioned earlier on. Well, the key things that would play out is, on ethnic balance, gender balance, and regional balance. Well, these are likely to influence selection panels' position on the individuals that are going to, take up the mantle that is on IBC, as captured on page 2. We'll be looking at that even as we proceed. And on the Forbes record, French tycoon Arnold is now the world's richest person, as captured also on page 2. Details of the same, you can grab a copy and get to see that. And Kenyan Medic wins prestigious World Health Organization Global Award. We celebrate her for that one. Jemima Karaoke, who started, last year to assist pregnant women, at that point of COVID-19 when things were not so easy. And therefore, she has received these international recognitions. Congratulations to her. That is what it is that has been captured in the papers. We'll be looking at them alongside my guests later on. Let's see whether today the maps well behave so that we can get to see what is happening on the roads. But in the event that they don't, then we try and fix that and we get into the news stories, and that's exactly what it is that we'll do. First, let's look at these stories. Karanja Kareri Jama, the Jubilee candidate for the Kiambaa parliamentary by-election, arrived at IEBC offices to collect his certificate to officially run in the by-election. This comes in the wake of Moses Kuria's People's Empowerment Party pulling out of the race in favor of the United Democratic Alliance candidate.
Excitement filled the air as Karanja Kareri Njama entered the town of Karuri in Kiambaa constituency. Karimi then proceeded to the IEBC offices to present his candidature for the Kiambaa parliamentary by-election. The party hopeful couldn't hide his excitement as he was awarded his nomination certificate.
Hata tunataka kuambia IEBC walete hii election wailete karibu tuweze kumaliza hii mambo mapema, sio? Yes. Wanjiko hapa ama yule mtu yote anataka kura hapa aende kwa Wanjiko, asiletwe na watu wengine kutafutiwa nini? Kura.
A total of 8 candidates, 2 of them being independent candidates, were cleared by the IEBC in order to contest in the Kiambaa July 15th parliamentary by-election. The Kiambaa parliamentary and Muguga ward seats fell vacant following the demise of former Member of Parliament Paul Koinange and Member of County Assembly Eliud Ngugi in March. Margaret Wanjiru, TV 47.
And now a supremacy battle is looming in Wajir County following the swearing-in of Governor Ali Mukhtar. Impeached Governor Abdi Mohammed, however, insists that he is still the county boss after a Meru court ordered the nullification of the impeachment of the governor, as Joash Onsari tells us.
A Meru court referred the petition that sought the nullification of the impeachment of Wajir Governor Abdi Mohammed to Chief Justice Martha Koome. The move eliciting mixed reactions among section of leaders from the county.
It is clear that the order issued by the Honorable Court was in vain, and the order was overtaken by events.
Early Tuesday, the newly sworn-in Wajir Governor Ali Mukhtar, accompanied by all the 6 members of parliament from Wajir and a section of MCAs, insisted that the impeached governor was removed from office on the basis of poor service delivery. So far, Mukhtar says he has started working for the people of Wajir.
I was sworn in on the 18th, and as you heard from the speakers before me, there were very serious issues in Wajir. And we are very fortunate that at least we attended to many of these.
But what cannot be stopped is governance that has come in through a legal process, through a legal means.
On the issue of Wajir and in terms of the services expected for the people of Wajir, we are united and one.
Governor Mukhtar and the section of area leaders want the impeached governor to join the leaders as a citizen to serve the locals.
We appeal to him to come on board as a citizen of the county and help us, if anything, to deliver to the people of Wajir.
And with court orders, the impeached governor, Abdi Mohammed, insisted he is the legitimate governor. Abdi said several court orders were violated during the impeachment process.
The import of this order is that I continue to be in office to execute the powers and functions of the governor of Wajir County as prescribed by law until the petition is heard and determined.
Addressing the media from the Council of Governors headquarters in Nairobi, Abdi said his impeachment is politically engineered.
I am perturbed by the behavior of some of Wajir political leaders who hurriedly conducted and officiated an illegal swearing in ceremony in an attempt to remove popularly elected governor from office.
The allies of Governor Mukhtar, however, promised to respect any court outcome.
Whatever outcome, we'll abide by. Until that happens, we have a duly sworn in governor. Let's give him the support that he requires so that he can deliver service. The expectation is so high, actually.
The wrangles at the top leadership of Wajir County continues, with the residents being optimistic that the Chief Justice Martha Koome will constitute a 3-judge bench to hear the impeachment of Governor Abdi Mohamed. Joash Onsare, TV 47.
Now, the Kikuyu Council of Elders and Kiama have, disparaged the coronation of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi as the Mount Kenya region spokesperson. The elders claim the coronation was unprocedural and was conducted by elders excommunicated from the Elders Council. The elders have announced that they will perform another ceremony at the Muranga Shrine to cleanse it, as Mwangi Maina tells us.
The disquiet and simmering tensions within different factions of the Gikuyu community elders following the coronation of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi as a Mount Kenya region spokesperson seems to exacerbate, with a section of the Kikuyu Council of Elders and those from Kiama denouncing the coronation. The elders argue that the coronation has no significance in the Gikuyu culture. It was unprocedural and was administered by elders already excommunicated from the Elders Council.
As the recognized councils of elders for the community, we are unanimous that any coronation must not be held at the shrine as was recklessly carried out on Saturday, the 22nd of May 2021 at the patronage of some renegade elders.
The two groups of elders in one accord claim the Mukurwe Wanyagathanga Shrine in Muranga County is a preserve for prayers, Kikuyu cultural ceremonies, and a cultural pilgrimage, and as such, coronation cannot take place at the shrine. They have announced to conduct a cleansing ceremony at the shrine.
We shall involve the Adhamaki, Atonyi, and cultural priests, Agogoni, for the cleansing of the shrine, and also to plead for God's mercies upon those ignorant and innocent people who are misled to doing what was not necessary.
There are people who entered that shrine, they are not supposed to enter. They don't belong to our community. They don't belong to the 10 clans. So if you are to get to that community, one, you must be a Mugikuyu, the other one, you must be one of the 10 clans.
Kazi yetu kama makuhani, tunaenda huko, tunatoa kafara na tunasafisha hiyo mahali, na kama vile nimesema, tumemuona Mungu akijibu maombi yetu kwa niaba ya Wakikuyu na kwa niaba ya nchi ya Kenya.
The elders have faulted their counterparts whom they referred to as renegades for politicizing the event, which they also claim was not in tandem with the cultural practices of the Kikuyu community. They have maintained that President Uhuru Kenyatta is a leader of the Mount Kenya region as well as the region's spokesperson.
Kushidana sio vibaya kwa siasa. Lazima watu washidane, lakini iwe ni kitu iko na adabu. Sio kitu ya kuvanisha watu. Saa hii Central imekuwa ndio kiwanja ya vita. Hata imefika pahali tumejionea, tumefika pahali hata tumeanza kudharau hata makanisa yenyewe. Sasa tumefika hata shrine yenyewe tumeenda kuidharau.
Speaker Justin Muturi was coronated last week in an event attended by hundreds of Kikuyu elders. Mwangi Maina, TV 47, Nairobi.
Still in the Mount Kenya region, and chaotic scenes were witnessed for the better part of Tuesday at the Nyandarua County Assembly as embattled Nyandarua Speaker Ndegwa Wahome attempted to return to the Assembly after Nakuru Court put his impeachment on hold. Wahome, who was accompanied by a section of rowdy youths, was however locked out of the Assembly for more than 2 hours, with police officers forced to lob tear gas canisters and fire in the air to disperse protesters. Now, this as divisions in the Nyandarua County Assembly that are now seen as Wahome versus Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimemia affair threatened to grind operations at the Assembly to a halt. David Mudoka with that report.
Tuesday morning, and these were the scenes outside the Nyandarua County Assembly. Embattled Speaker Ndegwa Wahome was in an attempt to make a comeback to the Assembly in the company of his supporters, who for the better part of the morning shouted his slogans and kept on waving placards protesting his alleged mistreatment in the hands of members of the Nyandarua County Assembly. But the Speaker with 9 lives was in for a rude shock as police officers who had manned the Assembly's entrance blocked him, prompting a bitter clash, pitting the boys in blue on one side and Wahome, some members of the County Assembly and his supporters on the other. As for the latter, nothing could stop them, not even hunger. They had come prepared.
Lazima tuingie katika bunge la Nyandarua liwe liwaro, kwa sababu mimi watu wa Gatimo walinichagua ndio nikiwe ninawasimamia.
It is a time to differentiate who elected us. We were not elected to come and sing praise and worship to Kimemia.
With tempers flaring, the law enforcers were forced to lob tear gas canisters at the crowds and fire in the air, leading to a cat and mouse chase between the officers and Wahome supporters for the remainder of the day.
For the last 9 years that I have been here, these gates have been open to the public. It is only this time that the Assembly is being militarized.
It was the first time the Speaker was returning to the Assembly since Nakuru High Court Judge Joel Ngugi reinstated him after he challenged his third impeachment by the Nyandarua MCAs. His first impeachment came in December, another one in February, before that one earlier this month, all of which he has successfully challenged in court.
MCAs who are on the side of the governor, when they are not dressed for the Assembly, so they were coming for other agenda. So I have decided, because my life has been threatened previously, that I would not enter into the chamber.
So sisi wabunge, sisi hatuna hizo silaha wanasema, sisi ni watu watulivu, sisi ni watu wa heshima na tunajua kazi yetu.
Those people who do not want Wahome here are the majority. So simply, even if he goes to court, as we do not want him.
According to the chair of the County Assembly's Forum, Nyandarua Governor Francis Kimemia is at the center of his woes, accusing him of turning the Assembly against him.
I feel very sad for especially the Deputy Speaker and the Majority Leader, because when they will be going to jail, Kimemia will be nowhere.
The divisions have drawn the swearing-in of newly elected Durie Ward MCA Muraya Githaiga into a limbo, with Wahome and Acting Speaker Zachary Njeru split over who should conduct the ceremony.
The former Speaker, Honorable Dewa, was elected in this House in a political way. That is, he had the numbers by then, but today he has lost the numbers.
For the next few days, all eyes will be trained on the Nyandarua County Assembly as a full-blown showdown pitting embattled Wahome and Governor Kimemia looms. David Mudoka, TV 47.
And we have, that is Speaker Ndegwa Wahome with us this morning, and therefore we get his view on the same alongside James Gakuya, who's a Member of Parliament in Bakassi North, even as we ponder on the changes that are likely to play out in terms of succession that is in the Mount Kenya region, and generally the aspect of devolution, in particular Nairobi, what is going on in Nairobi, and importantly Nyandarua County. And speaking of Nairobi, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is still pursuing at least 11.5 billion shillings unexplained wealth owned by 3 former governors and 1 sitting county boss. The 4 are former Nairobi County bosses Evans Kidero and Mike Sonko, former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, and embattled Samburu Governor Moses Lenonkulal. And as Elizabeth Mutuku now reports, the commission, however, says it has recovered at least it takes 25 billion of assets and finances accrued from various government institutions and offices.
In a shocking revelation before Senate's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Chairman Eliud Wabukala told the committee that the commission is pursuing assets and finances worth 11.5 billion shillings acquired illegally by former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, and embattled Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal Kasaini in cases which are still in courts.
The Commission has also undertaken other investigations, particularly targeting illegal and unexplained wealth against governors, former governor of Kiambu, former governor of Nairobi, the two former governors of Nairobi, and the governor of Samburu. The cases are pending in court, and the assets which are being pursued, the unexplained assets which are being pursued, is to the tune of 11.5 billion.
The commission further told the Omogeni-led committee that it has managed to recover at least 25 billion worth assets and finances from government institutions in its fight against corruption, saying in a span of 5 years, it has managed to avert a loss of close to 30.5 billion shillings. Wabukala-led committee has managed to conclude investigations on 1,000 cases, with 169 cases already concluded in courts, while still pursuing 25 billion worth assets illegally acquired by some government officers.
Of approximately 30.4 billion Kenya shillings. This is money which ideally would have been lost if EACC did not intervene. But EACC was able to intervene and stop this theft before it occurred. This is a very good strategy because one, it is cheap to implement. It does not wait until resources are lost.
The EACC says some of serious cases they have managed to investigate, with some of its victims brought to book include that of Sirisia Member of Parliament John Waluke, where over 3.5 billion shillings were illegally acquired, and the KEMSA scandal, which EACC says to have concluded its 7 billion scandal investigations.
I think from where I stand, and of course as a Kenyan, this is an issue that we at leadership level can influence our own various governors not to go beyond what they are doing in terms of employing. But for EACC, we are very serious about it in case it involves abuse of office.
EACC decried of inadequate funding, slow judicial process, politicization of cases, lack of implementation of Chapter 6 on Constitution, among other challenges. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Nairobi.
All right, with me, James Gakuya, Member of Parliament in Bakassi North, is in studio, and joining us virtually is Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, Chair County Assembly's Forum. And we get to the conversation briefly, what has been captured on the papers, and importantly, what it is that, of course, is happening in Nyandarua County and importantly in Nairobi. That will be the biggest question, just what is going on in Nairobi. Well, now that he's a Member of Parliament in Nairobi constituency, I'm sure he must be, well conversant as to what it is that is playing out. Well, while the argument on ground is that there's so much that has been done by the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the biggest question is that, what exactly, under what mandate, and, are they doing it to perfection, or maybe more could have been done? This at a point when, of course, we've seen that particular story where the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is pursuing to understand, more about these monies on, of course, the heads of these particular former governors, that is former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero and former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko. Before we get into what is happening in Nyandarua, I think that's the key story that has been captured, one on the front page of the Standard newspaper and equally on the front page of the the People Daily. And therefore, because it forms the basis of our conversation, I'll shelve it for a moment and we look at other stories as captured, then we come back to that. And one of the key things that has been making headlines is, of course, the coming in of CJ Martha Koome. Koome faces tough choices in appeal court crisis, while some lawyers suggest that the CJ could pursue a diplomatic approach. Others maintain she should let matters play out in court. Mheshimiwa.
Thank you, Rita. Allow me to salute the viewers wherever they are watching us from.
Yeah.
On matters to do with the new CJ, this is truly a very hot position. And take into consideration that she must fit in the shoe of his predecessor.
Yeah.
He has a lot to do to make sure that things are moving to the right direction. One, he is very categorical that there has been laxity in matters to do with the prosecuting and concluding cases of corruption in the judiciary. And therefore, he's putting a very big hammer to make sure that, in fact, the judiciary is not going to carry the blame of these unconcluded matters. Number two is that she also having a lot of handles, considering that, in fact, there is a bench of appeal courts, which has to have what we call a minimum number of bench of 15 and maximum of 30, and which currently has less than the minimum, because currently they are 13 in number. So they are less than the minimum, and therefore there is a big need to persuade the executive either to swear in, to allow the swearing in of the 41. Vetted number of judges, so that the gaps can be filled. So there is also areas of concern that for her to make sure that everything is moving to the right direction, then she also required to be assisted in the areas to have enough numbers to make sure that the works in judiciaries are well prosecuted. I think that, in fact, is a good start, and now that, in fact, she seems to have what we call a relationship with the executive, because I think what was missing in the last CJ is that there was some tug of war between him and the executive, and that is when we are realizing that there were areas of budget strain where the executive was seeming as deliberately denying the judiciary the money to execute their jobs. I think that, in fact, having the head of state during the swearing in of the current Chief Justice, she confirmed very well that actually he will assist the Chief Justice to make sure that she achieves her goals. And therefore, I hope that the head of state probably will assist the judiciary now to move on the right direction.
All right. Well, just to loop in, Mheshimiwa Ndegwa Wahome, and the legal side is your space. What do you make of the coming in of CJ Martha Koome?
I think, thank you very much, Linda. I think that you cannot find complete acceptability wherever you go. And obviously there are those, but the beauty of it is that the majority are weighing in favor and in support of the new Chief Justice, Madam Martha Koome. What I would say is that in her own history, I have interacted with her when she sat as a judge in Nakuru. And I think on the face of it, what we call prima facie, is that we expect a lot from her. There are a lot of expectations in this country from her. At the time she has come in, we are in crossroads where the judiciary and the executive have not been working in harmony, and the chemistry obviously has not been there. But now she's starting on a clean plate, and therefore she is able to build a foundation on which she wants the judiciary to grow as an independent entity and in its relationship with the executive. And I think the first place to go is only the Court of Appeal. We only have 13 judges now. Another 2 are committed elsewhere. Kadurima Muinoti is in the Judiciary Training School, and Justice Wasame is in the Judicial Service Commission. So we only have about 11, and we have about 4 benches of Court of Appeal. That is in Kisumu, in Nyeri, in Mombasa, and in Nairobi. And therefore, that court is completely constrained. And as legal opinions are not very concurrent on what kind of a bench should be formed to deal with the BBI. Most of the legal minds are saying that there should be 7 judges sitting on appeal against the 5-judge High Court bench. And therefore, that will show, because this is a very intensive case of monumental public interest, then if 7 judges are kept there, then we shall only have 4 to deal with the appeal issues across the country. Therefore, this is the time now that Justice Martha Koome has to find a way getting to the president so that the 41 judges can be sworn in, and so that this country can be able to move on. You'll find that most of these judges, out of the 41 proposed judges, most of them are already in the bench or on the bench. Only very few, I think about 5, who are coming from the private practice. So I think this is something that can be able to be discussed. And when people are speaking at each other, I believe that a solution should be found. And I'm looking forward to seeing the 41 judges, now 41 of them passed on, the 40 judges being sworn in anytime now, because we are in a crisis, only that we are not speaking about it.
Now that you mentioned something to do with the Court of Appeal and this declaration that, well, they have declared the BBI conversation and the appeal case as urgent and therefore to be dealt with, as quick as possible. I mean, as always, politics will be read into this. Many say that maybe this informs the confidence that the proponents have, that, well, somehow their arms will be twisted to a point whereby they will abide by what it is that the proponents will suggest. What do you make, or what do you expect of what it is that the Court of Appeal will deliberate on matters BBI? Right Honorable Raila Odinga, you saw him the other day in Kisumu, confident that reggae is on, and of course they'll be within the timelines.
Rinda, there will be no miracles to attain the threshold of timeline, because timeline will be at any way be off the line, because any result that we may get, whether positive or negative, from the bench that will be nominated to deal or to prosecute the matter to do with the BBI appeal matter, I am sure it will not be anywhere soon before end of July or probably early August. And if this is going to be the case, then depending on the timelines, we have the issue to do with the elimination of boundaries, where we want to insert certain number of constituencies. And the same BBI has given timeline of not less than 6 months to allow the Electoral Commission to do the eliminations of those numbers. And therefore, taking it not possible to be within this particular year. Because the Constitution is very clear, you cannot make amendment of the law any time less than 1 year to election. And taking into consideration we're having an election in August next year, if the conclusion of any verdict in BBI is going to be given by early August or by August, there will be no miracle of moving to an election with the BBI. And this one, I will tell you, because even though the matter may go positive, there is still a demand of 3 good months for the Electoral Commission to prepare that particular preparation for referendum. And therefore, it makes it off completely from the time limit limited by the Constitution, and not less than 1 year, any amendment.
All right.
So in this particular case, it tells you this matter will spill to next year. And if it spills to next year, then there is no probability. What they may do is to gang together the party leaders, because I have seen that there is that goodwill from the party leaders. They can gang together and bring the House together and try to gang the two-thirds of the House, because the amendment of the date of election can be only made by the House through the two-thirds of Parliament. Right. And that is the only window which will be left.
All right.
Therefore, if there will be any verdict that will be pro-BBI propellers that will come out, and then the time will be against them, then the only window left is to persuade the House to do what we call change of the date of election.
All right.
Yes, because there's no way else you can be able to attain that process at the end of the day.
Well,
that is my view, and there is no any shortcut to that.
Oh well, and as we look at the aspect of time and maybe the formation and preparation of the IEBC, before we get to it, Court of Appeal certifies BBI appeal as urgent, directs respondents to file written submissions within 3 days, and a bench to hear and determine the appeal be formed. Just how important is this to this particular case, Honorable Wahome?
Yes, thank you, Rita. I think the judge did what she was supposed to do.
Okay.
There were applications by 3 protagonists. That is the presidency, the Attorney General, the BBI Secretariat, and Right Honorable Raila Odinga. All of them went to the Court of Appeal and were able, according to the judge, to satisfy the court that the issues were very urgent. And I think, as Mheshimiwa Kuya has said, because there are those timelines that have been met, that have to be met, if these reforms have to happen within this cycle of governance. And therefore, I cannot fault the judge for declaring that the matter was urgent. Mm-hmm. In any event, even at the High Court, the bench of 5 had also declared that the matter was very urgent and of national importance and of public interest. And therefore now what for us is that after these both parties are able to file their pleadings and conclude them, and then they are able to do their submissions, then we shall have a bench which will be constituted, and as the judge said, all the parties will be notified when to converge before the bench for a mention and directions. That is when now the court will decide that this matter will be heard for 10 days, and it will issue the dates so that the lawyers now can go back and regroup and then come to the court and do the highlights on those particular submissions, and then the court will retire to deliver their judgment. The issue you have mentioned about timelines is of great importance, because if we go beyond August, then it becomes very difficult to be able to implement any reforms within this cycle of governance before the 2022 elections.
Mr. Wahome, let me ask this question.
Yes.
Do you foresee a possibility that that proposal that was initially there of holding the referendum together with, the election or the general election, something that is likely to see the light of day?
Actually, the Constitutional Oversight, Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee of the National Parliament, in its original bill, actually led by the member for Drago, Honorable Jeremiah Kion, it had actually suggested that the BBI or the Constitutional Amendment Bill be voted on at the same time with the 2022 elections. But then that was shelved, but there will be no breach of the law or any transgression to any statute if we hold the referendum together with the general election. There is absolutely no offense to any non-law in this country.
All right, well, we can only wait.
The only to add a rider to from the speaker's statement is that the only handle there is that the propellers of the BBI wanted to take this country to election with this fashion of the BBI, and therefore, if we anchor the referendum together with the election, coming election, tells you that then the implementation of BBI can be only done on another election after the 2022. And probably that is okay to Kenyans. Probably it will not be able to be to sweeten the intenders of the BBI, but to me there is no problem with that. And that's the best way we should do. Because surely we are not supposed to rush matters as if this country is migrating. This country is here to remain, and therefore, if the timelines are not in our favor, then anchor the BBI, if in case it find its right of the day from the appeal court, anchor it to the general election. And that will be, to Kenyans, to be lesser cost, because at least the cost will be the same cost that will take the election. Therefore, we will save money there. And at the same time, it will give Kenyans audience time to decide their destiny.
All right, and here we are. Yes.
Maybe in a brief way on that, I agree with Mheshimiwa that that is why I said that the implementation within this duration of governance would not happen if the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 is voted together with the general elections. But then, because then the position of the Prime Minister will not have been created, and the positions of the Deputy Prime Ministers, and also the cabinet that we shall be having will not have members of Parliament as part of the cabinet, because implementation can only happen during the next general elections.
All right. Well, okay, fair enough. It's something that is in courts, like we say, we wait for the deliberations. But you mentioned something very important, Honorable Gakuya, in regards to the formation of the IEBC and its preparations. And we are at page 2 of the People Daily that speaks of how politicians, academicians are, out there to battle for the 4 IEBC slots, and we understand that it's not fully constituted as it is right now, and therefore, as we are seeking to head for an election, a referendum, if there's going to be any, it is important that this office is well constituted. Women applicants stand a better chance since the current 3 commissioners are males. And just looking at the list of individuals that are out here for this, very many of them are, men in their 400s there and women in their 200s. And household names that we've heard of before out there to battle it for these particular positions. What are your expectations, even as we eagerly await for this? Because remember, our biggest fear is always on the formation of these, individuals. A majority of them who left the office left, at a point where, there was so much, terrible painting of this particular entity. And as they would say, they stepped out or they decided to resign courtesy of these terrible activities that were playing out within. One, the 3 that are there, good enough to welcome the others that will be coming in for them to be able to spearhead these crucial activities in the country?
Yes, now that the executive and the National Assembly at this particular point has not commenced any single route to ambush or suspend the remaining 3 number of commissioners. And the president has alluded himself to commence this process of filling the gaps. I am convinced that the 3 already in charge are safe. And therefore, what we are doing is that we are looking for the filling of the gap of the remaining 4. And going by the number of names that are appearing in our papers, one is that it looks favorable as much as we are going to consider what we call a gender role. Then it is important the gender law to apply everywhere, because that is what our constitution emphasizes. And therefore, the 3 that are current are male. That is very clear.
Yes.
And therefore, there is a possibility of, if I can see we have like 2 number of women, and possibly if they qualify, then it there gives them an opportunity, a clear indication that they can be able to be part of the panel. Consider also, I have an issue to do with this team like this Mwangi Kinodia.
Yes.
Mwangi Kinodia, you know, he's the one who was heading the committee which bridges us from the defunct local authorities to the new county arrangement of government. And his term was only 3 years, and I can say he did his work well, though the age in this particular panel, to me, it ages him. Because it's also important that though these positions are by merit, but to me, we also require to see fresh youth faces in these offices.
Okay.
So I wish that, in fact, if I am the one who is in the panel, I also need to strike the balance of the age. Because in our appointments, most of the time we miss the faces of the youth. And therefore, I would say I would possibly substitute Mwangi with
Norman Magaya.
With Magaya,
oh, yeah?
So that at least we can have at least a new youth face in the panel.
Well,
and therefore, if we can go that way, I think it can be more balanced. But I am the opinion that the women cannot be left out of this particular commission because the gender is a matter which is well emphasized by our constitution, and we must add to that. Yes.
Well, of course. So
I wish them all the best, but because the positions are only 4, I wish that, in fact, let the best one secure their positions, considering that we must have women there.
All right, well, and the majority of them who left
the women.
And the youth. We had
Yes,
we had key 3 women that had left, the likes of Akombe, Kada, and all that, and so we'll be looking at to see what happens. We have 464 male figures that have presented their interest in 205 of them. And what it is that Honorable Gakuya speaks about, Wahome, is very crucial in terms of getting new faces. There's an aspect of experience, and at the same time, the aspect of us getting new faces. We say we're not short of individuals that are capable to hold these offices. What would be your expectations? And I know there are very many names that have been presented, but amidst all these names, we also have key figures that are likely to take up this, because then in their own respective positions they have held almost similar offices, the likes of Norman Magaya, who's also been part and parcel of the Code Coalition for the longest of time, and Kinuthia, as Mheshimiwa would rightfully put it, and numerous other individuals from KNHCR and all that. I mean, do we expect to see the same faces that we've seen before, or maybe there should be some change?
Okay, thank you, Linda. I think I would first wish to thank the IBC selection panel. I was able to appear before them as the chair of the County Assemblies Forum. And I think this is the first time I've seen the panel do public participation before they went down to the serious business of picking election managers in this country. And I also wish to thank the chair of that panel, the way they are so structured in approaching this issue, and you would tell that they are dealing with an issue of national importance and of great public interest. I would wish to say that when I saw the names that are in the papers today, this is a constitutional right of everyone to apply. But I think some of these faces now should just give way.
Okay.
The middle class, mid-range, we are very, very serious professionals, people of integrity, people of serious intelligence, and people who can move this country to the next level. And I'm hoping that the 4 commissioners that we are going to get, over and above addressing the issue of national balance, so that we can have the Kenyan face in the IBC.
Yeah.
That we should have young and robust people who are visionary, people of vision, occupying these positions. Because we, in this country, and that is what I told the panel, that over and above what is documented, we know those people who are of integrity and those who are not. Within the professional circles, we talk about these issues. And that is why I thank the panel, because of listening to all of the heads of different organizations in this country, including private professional groups. And therefore, what I would appeal to them, as I did appeal to them that time, we already have Chebukati and the team who have been there. They will show the way to the newcomers. But let us have new faces that we have never seen, who are in the background and doing great things for this country. Come to the IBC and breathe a fresh breath of air, so that even this country can have confidence. Only the appointment of the 4 commissioners will give Kenyans confidence and hope, depending on who is placed in those positions. I would not want to throw any aspersions to anybody, but some of the names are there. Seriously, I would shudder to hear or see them being sworn in as commissioners of the IBC.
Okay. Well, as we probably look at and close on the papers, Uhuru 2022 Magic Bullet, that is what we'll be discussing on when we talk of matters succession, and especially the coronation of Justice Muturi, that is Justin Muturi, as Mount Kenya spokesperson. On the front page also of the Standard newspaper, one story that had been captured: unrest hits parties as race to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta gathers momentum. That is one thing that we look at. But before we even get into that, there's this that we need to discuss: the proposed changes on the NHIF angle. Let's see what page it is there. And I'm sure you are privy to this information. One that has not augured well with many. Kotu, on the other hand, is against that. And here we are. Kotu rejects the new NHIF proposals. A storm is brewing over the proposal or proposed amendments to the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, that will henceforth require every Kenyan to make a compulsory contribution of 500 per month. I don't know what you make of this. You know the details of it, Mheshimiwa, I'd want to believe. And therefore, Kotu is out here guns blazing to say that this is probably not fair. But then again, just how is NHIF working to serve the people as it is today? Sometimes you go to hospital and you're not even able to access some of these services simply because you don't have the monies, yet you have been contributing to the NHIF kitty.
Thank you, Linda. First and foremost, the matter to do with NHIF are somehow not very clear because you find that, in fact, the manner in which one becomes a member to this, one is required to be paying like 500 shillings. This is the token that everybody, to entry point of every single client. And the question is that, in fact, there is no room to separate those who has and those who has not. Because I believe that, in fact, for this particular kind of a farm to do well to the rest of the nation is at areas where it could have separated these two number of tires, where those have at least could be able to cater more so that they can be able to hook those who have not. So that at least all of us can meet somewhere. And therefore, I would like to say that, in fact, in this country, everybody else is interested to be part of this particular procedure. It's only that one will be locked out of it because of failure to have that 500 shillings. And we may try to see that as if 500 shillings is a very minimal kind of amount of money. But I can tell you, there is somebody who last a year without have seen a 500 note together. And therefore, not everybody will be able to be part of this. And I think that this insurance should hook every other Kenyan so that every Kenyan can be secure, ensure that any time that she is in need of outpatient or inpatient, she is a member to this particular program. And therefore, to me, there is a serious need of serious changes within it so that at least we can accommodate. You find that now the president and his deputy are being lined at the same level. Myself as Mheshimiwa, we are the same level with that peasant person down there. And I think that I cannot feel bad. I cannot feel any bad, even though I will be taxed at 20,000, because I will be able to hook many to be part of the kitty. And therefore, I think it is supposed to be looked so that it can be transformed and in a manner that it can be able to carry all of us together. Finally, I would like to say the manner in which the NHIF operates, sometimes it is not very welcome, because you find that they give treatment with percentage.
Yeah.
This percentage is that a certain disease, they cater for a certain percent. And therefore, then you are not very sure that when you are experiencing this kind of disease, then and you have been bedridden in a certain hospital, then you are not sure that in fact the NHIF will pay your whole bill. And I think there's an area that should be addressed, because I believe if it's an insurance, it should be made compulsory to take care of your whole bill. And that is the areas we should think, so that we can make it so robust, and so that at least everybody is sure and comfortable that when I am a member of NHIF, I don't require any other insurance. I'm good to go, because it cater all my outpatients and my inpatient cases. But this has not been the case. Therefore, a lot of some changes require, so that we can be. And because I am very sure that in fact the issue to do is how is the resources. Then the resources can be only be realized when we categorize it, and therefore then we give it a category of those people who can be able to contribute more, and therefore they can be able to assist those who are peasant that require to be part of it.
That's true, and in most countries that's what happens anyway. The people who have, in most cases, will pay even more taxes in comparison to the others, and which is contrary.
How comes that, in fact, leader, that I have a peasant who is my neighbor here. He's paying the same taxes I am paying, and I am the one who have vehicles who is damaging the road, and yes, we have been taxed equally. That one is unfair.
Maybe it's important that we review our tax procedures and processes and policies. But Mheshimiwa, briefly, in about 45 seconds or thereabout, one of the key things, or the key things that are being challenged here, a couple of things. One, making this fund, or these contributions mandatory, conversion of the fund to a scheme, and that aspect of the fact that this, is a proposal that is being made without. It's actually more or less like a declaration without public participation. There's no problem in giving out this money if one is capable to do that. But I mean, do they even get value for money?
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. First is to say that those leaders who conceived the idea of NHIF, they must have meant very well for this country and for the peasantry of this country. But then I think that law has remained redundant, and there has never been a board that has started to look at the mischief that has existed in the law since it was created. And I think the boards of NHIF mainly have let down this country, because there is nothing illuminating, there is nothing inspiring that you can say has come out from the boards that have been leading NHIF. And I would think the main reason is because it is us politicians who are put there, who have other concerns more than the concerns that took them to those boards. But the few that have been able to do whatever they have done, the NHIF has played a very, very important and critical role in the health sector in this country, and I would wish to register those thanks. Secondly is that you might state that in a law that it would be compulsory contribution. But another worrying factor is that this compulsory contribution, it has no scientific formula. How it is reached at. There is no rationale or logic behind why you must decide that these people will pay 500 shillings and the other one who is being paid 2 million is paying 1,200. Clearly, we must go back to the drawing board. People must exercise logic, and we must look at the reality that is obtaining in this country and come up with a law that where even a shoe shine from Mama Boga, who can be able to pay, even if it is that shillings per month, but that one is ameliorated or subsidized by those who are earning more, like myself, and those in business and those elsewhere. Therefore, I believe that this law seriously should go back for serious public participation and public engagement and stakeholder engagement, because the people who are complaining most are the people who are mostly affected. But it seems that this one has found them. It was like kind of an ambush. And therefore, I believe that this is something that should be revisited. And because NHIF is very critical. The other issue, and finally, is even before starting to bring new laws, what is the level of implementation of the law that is in existence? Because NHIF money have been used to acquire ghost, to do ghost investments. They have been made to pay ghost bills for the beneficiary of who are in control of the same organization. So is to streamline the operations of the NHIF and ensure that our monies go to where they are accrued to go. Otherwise, trying to tax our Kenyans further when you cannot explain what you are doing with our money now, when there are so many loopholes, I think it is the wrong direction.
All right, well, we'll leave that one. We wait to see how, of course, it pans out. What's important is that we hope it pans out in favor of the common mwananchi. President said to launch 7 handshake projects, a couple of projects that have culminated out of this. And in that, particular angle, I just look at one tweet that, was, of course, of one, Governor Mike Sonko, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, who says, what, jokes aside, this person is working so hard towards transforming so much in the country and also the city. Just what is happening in Nairobi before we come to the succession politics and the coronation of J. Muturi? It is important that we understand what is playing out. The front page of these papers speaks of, governors who are ousted and the numerous monies that they cannot account for, especially monies that were channeled towards making the best of the county. And yes, Sonko is out. So much is happening across, in terms of devolution and the bedeviled numerous governors. Of course, we're talking about the recent one that is ousted Wajir governor, who insists is still in office. And of course, on the other side, his deputy has officially been sworn in as the county governor. So much is playing out in devolution's angle. As you tell us what is happening in Nairobi, Mheshimiwa, do you suppose that devolution in a way is under siege and is captured by some mafias, so to speak?
Rida, first and foremost, let me say that it's a big progress to the citizens of this country. That the big question there before was at the center on how we share our resources envelope. And it was seen as if that the resources were skewed to an area where those who governs comes from, and therefore sidelining other areas. And that is the reason why the crafters of the Constitution actually bring these particular aspects of 2 tiers. I remember very well, the proposal was to bring up a 3-tier government, but it was shot down, and therefore the 2 tiers carried the day. And the essence of these 2 tiers was purposely to bring down the services to Wanjiku and close to Wanjiku. It was of no any other essence. It was just to make sure that the services are close and near to Wanjiku. And therefore, the promoters or the authors of the constitutions, in their mind, don't forget that there before, Reader, we had the defunct local authorities, which were working very well. And let me tell you, which were also reaching the services very well to the people. And I can tell you, I was a member of the Nairobi City Council, and I served the Nairobi City Council twice. That was 10 years. And let me tell you, we had only a small kitty, which was known as LASDAP, which was coming from the national government. Otherwise, the rest, we were servicing the Nairobians using our daily correction from within our domestic corrections. And therefore, I can tell you, with this kind of magnitude extra money that actually the new constitution has brought to the counties, we expect the counties to robustically been seen working. Because what have we done as a nation? We have reduced the services that the national government was offering from the top. And we have devolved that money to the counties so that these counties can be seen working on behalf of the central government or the national government, down there. But you find that these counties are not working and they are not reflecting any single development. But what is happening is that you can arrive to a situation where a single county is having an expenditure of recurrent expenditure at the tune of almost 90% or 95%, and therefore leaving behind only 5% to development. At what particular time do you expect that the reflection of development will be seen down there? I can tell you, just move aloud in the areas that actually are outside there. What you just find there, you can only realize that the developments you are coming across are those developments that under the kitty of the CDF. But the issue to do with counties, go and look signboards. You find very minimal signboards for any single road constructed by county government. This tells you what? That we migrated from the de facto local authorities and we came to this particular fashion with expectation that actually we get the services. But still, we are in dilemma. We are not moving out of the cycle. And one day I asked Kindero, as a governor of Nairobi, what is happening that you are unable even to pay debts? You are unable to pay pending bills. The people are still languishing here, queuing for their payments. And he told me, Guy, no, the monkeys are still the same. Yes, we have already changed the forest. The monkeys are the same.
I vividly remember.
In this particular scenario, I can tell you, that's why I have no problem when I am seeing headline of investigations with questionable billions of money. Because I am sure people siphoned. I am sure.
When Kidero says the monkeys are still the same, and you say, during these other times, it was working. He was the pioneer governor of Nairobi, and therefore if he speaks of monkeys being the same, then it means the people who were there in the previous arrangement did not do much in terms of improving Nairobi, and therefore really we can't compare the previous arrangements to this
because
one.
Actually our thought is we have brought during those days the crafters of the act then were very clear that the councils of the county councils then were under the town clerks, and town clerks were the people who were the CEOs then, and therefore in a set of the what you call councillor leadership were anchored under the mayor, a mayor who was elected not by the people but by the councillors then, and that mayor was a ceremonial mayor, and therefore he was not the CEO then, and therefore the powers were within the administration, and things were working, I can tell you. And then that is when we had somebody who I cannot forget in Nairobi, whose name is Gaku. Gaku did a lot, and he transformed this Nairobi too much, and I can tell you, we realized that in fact it is only the change of manager which matters, because every manager comes with his ideology and vision towards what you want. But I can tell you and I can assure you, I have been watching and trying to see whether there is any county currently which is trying to show us a case of improvement, and it is not forthcoming. And I can tell you, leader, consider that a county like Nairobi is being topped up with over 15 billion extra money other than what they had been collecting then. Then what could be the answer? The answer could be, yes, this is a great mileage and therefore great service to the people of Nairobi. But you are still seeing the heaps of garbages in the city. You are still seeing potholes. But I can today say that we have seen a tremendous improvement by the NMS.
All right, hold it right there. And that's exactly
therefore what I can say, despite that the managers are military, it does not mean that we cannot have civilians with the same passion to do the job. And I can tell you, it is not everybody who is poisoned. And if there are failures in terms of leadership, not everybody is a failure. In terms of the presidency, we had Moi and we had Moi Kibaki. Kibaki took the country and he jumped the economy from zero to the tiger economy. And therefore, it is doable.
All right.
It is that we are getting what we call less services Because of this problem is a problem created by the governors must understand they are elected to serve.
Okay, hold it right there. Let's have
these battles we are seeing in Wajir and wherever else, they are not necessary to Kenyans.
Okay.
They are not necessary to citizens. Citizens only require services.
Fair
and therefore, in terms of Wajir, I would say, if the court has ruled that the former governor, impeachment aside, therefore, we don't require to see those battles because the court order supersedes, and therefore, let's
allow Mr. Wahome come in. And Mheshimiwa, before we even come to your county, which has its fair share of troubles, if not drama, what do you make of, Nairobi? One, a different face of leadership, so to speak. We have Anne Wananu, who we are not really clear of what exactly is going on in terms of her mandate. And we have the NMS that has, somehow been celebrated coming from the reign of Mike Sonko. But again, we are getting to that point where there's that feel like, it has, exhibited some laxity. Maybe the excitement was there at that point when they're just coming into the office. But we are back to square one where garbage is all over Nairobi, where, of course, theft and crime is on the rise or is surging in Nairobi, where things are really not moving as smooth as we would expect. What do you make of Nairobi County? Just what is happening here? Are we going to wake up to a surprise one morning that we'll all probably be wondering where we were when it was all happening?
Okay, thank you very much, Rita. I think for Nairobi, because I talk with the MCAs very closely, and I have some who are in my executive committee and in the governing council, is that there was a lot of hope when the NMS came in. And actually, they have done very, very good things, especially in those initial days, especially in the health sector, cleanliness in the county, and kind of discipline in whatever was being done. But in the recent past, I think they are fitting into the saying that Mugema akisifiwa, tembo hulitia maji. I was in Nairobi last week, and I could not imagine. I was on Tom Mboya Street. It is all garbage everywhere. The Kennedy Matiba Road, I passed there. I rarely go those sites, but I happened to go there, and I was dismayed that Nairobi is coming back to where NMS had seemed to have taken it from. And we expected it to have a trajectory of good order and discipline and a structured way of doing things. Therefore, I really don't understand, and that is why you have found the MCAs in Nairobi County Assembly saying that the NMS need to be directly answerable to them, because it seems that nobody talks to NMS. Because the MCAs, even if they have an issue in their wards, there is no structure in our laws, in the County Government Act and in the standing orders, how we engage with the NMS. When it is said that the ministers are with the deputy governor, but these ministers have no money to do anything. It is the NMS, the ministers are accountable to the assembly, but the NMS is not. And NMS is the one that has the money to do development in Nairobi. So it is a quagmire, and the early we are able to address this issue, the best for the people of Nairobi. It is really a legal vacuum that is causing all this mess, and everybody have gone back to their comfort zone. I'm told the cartels are back more stronger than previously, and therefore this is something that requires to be structured. And actually, Kananu also, she is not sitting pretty. There is a challenge to her appointment in court, and coupled with the reason that she does not have those much of resources to be able to pursue maybe any agenda that or a blueprint that is there for Nairobi, then we don't expect a solution to this issue if there is no legal regime that is put in place so that everybody appreciate their particular positions. Devolution.
Yes.
I would say that the devolution to me, because I've gone across this country and listening to my MCAs, listening to common villagers, is that devolution is really magical to most mwananchi in Kenya. But I think we have let Kenyans down as leaders, because corruption was devolved in a very, very big way to the counties. And in the counties, we are making emperors and creating millions of paupers. Where you find those on the governance table, they are the only people who seem to be progressing, but the rest of the population is living in despair. You look at counties, and I'm not talking about this because I'm in Yadaro. You look like a county in Laikipia. Laikipia, the governor for Laikipia is almost doing.
That was a technical hitch right there, but it's even important because it comes at a point where we're supposed to take a short break, and therefore we'll take it and come back with Mheshimiwa.
Wondering what next in a crowded, confused and uncertain career market after KCSE? Worry no more. TV47, the fastest growing youth-targeted TV station across the 47 counties, brings you an entire month of career options and choice opportunities across all the leading universities and TVET institutions. We have put together a rich group of experts who will guide you through your career aspirations throughout the month of May. This will climax with a virtual career fair scheduled for the 28th of May at the University of Nairobi Auditorium. All relevant stakeholders are invited to reserve a seat via david.katiku@tv47.co.ke or careersfair@tv47.co.ke on 0791 999 883.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with New Blue Band peanut butter.
Hey, now that's hitting the right notes. When life gets boring, we bring out our play. You see, playfulness is in our DNA. It's in the way we move and laugh. It's in the way we walk, the way we rock, and how we just don't stop. You feel me? We add color to everything, to every day and every dish, because the world needs our crazy. We're the different flavors that make life more exciting. We're the ones who add color to every moment. Fanta, color every moment.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku. Pata offers zote mahali pamoja ili uongee zaidi, utume SMS zaidi na ubrowse zaidi.
Wewe usijali, tuma namba ya kila supplier kwa hiyo soko. Enda Jubilee nitaongea na kila mmoja wao.
Very good. Piga *444 hash utunukiwe Credo double.
Raukia siku njema na tunukiwa offers kila siku.
Oh, hi. It's not what you're thinking. It's a cup of coffee. Coffee, movie. Together, coffee with movie. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. on TV47, where we bring you interesting, enticing people. Well, we've concentrated on musicians.
Yeah. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to the broadcast. We are still on what is happening in regards to matters devolution. That was a tweak also at that point when we were having Honorable Wahome pondering or maybe giving his view on that. But before we get a hold of him, let's go back to Mheshimiwa James Gakuya, who's in studio with me, and we'll loop in Honorable Wahome later on as we proceed. Devolution under siege, and that is the biggest fear, and I'm sure you have expounded some more on what is happening in Nairobi. You are a member of parliament in Nairobi. It is evident that it's not all rosy as it would appear. Just rooting out some of the individuals that appeared not to have done well is not a guarantee that you're going to get the next person who's good, but all the same, we don't stop doing that. But if we are to shift gears briefly and, just look at what is happening across other different counties, and now that you mentioned the governors and the fact that we are creating more of, militias as opposed to getting governors that are supposed to spearhead activities at the counties, what would you make of Nyandarua County, where Honorable Wahome hails from? It has not been rosy. We have Governor Kimemia down there. And from what it is that people would argue, he's really running the show his own way, a 1 month affair that in a huge way, it alters development from getting to the people of Nyandarua.
Rida, what I can say, the matters to do with what we call interference in what we call county operations. The governors are not small gods. Governors are service providers. Mm-hmm. They are servants of the people.
Yes.
And immediately they will clink that into their mind. They will change their behavior and character because they are elected to serve. And therefore, they must create harmony within their centers of leadership. Mm-hmm. What they should do is to accommodate all the organs together so that as a county, you can propel together. But when you create divisions as a governor, that you want to fight with the speaker, and the speaker is the one who controls what we call county assembly, then that battle is not a healthy battle. And therefore, to me, I would say governors must know their role, and must be up to their laws, because the laws are well separated by the law. The governor has his own duty, the speaker has his own duty, and therefore the governors must desist from interfering with county assemblies. That's the only way that we can achieve the goal that actually is well established in our constitution. Otherwise, every other day you want to use the MCAs as goons to remove the speaker, because you feel that the speaker have dons that are actually pinning you, and therefore you won't just create that smoke and fire there. When shall the development be realized? Because MCAs are the ones who actually propose the policies. When do the policies move on? When the speaker is neither here nor there. This tells you that it's a total frustration. And to me, I would say it can be only important when we respect each other, and we must know speakers were elected by the county assemblies, not by the governors. And therefore, the governors must leave the offices of the speaker to be handled by the county assembly. Period.
All right.
And the governors must handle their duty, and they can control the cabinet because that is their role. And therefore, that separation of power is there. And let us not see what we are seeing outcomes of leadership in Nyandarua. It is really okay and unfortunate, reader, and we want to change. And I expect Kimemia to be very focal, very skilled, because he has come from administration, and therefore I have been expecting he can be the best governor. Yes, but let me tell you, let us remove our kasuba in their mind that we are the small gods of this particular county. That pride is killing the leadership of the county, and therefore taking what we call services into Ribo. Yes, so let us change the course, because we are out of the course. Let us make sure that we allow the laws that are stipulated by the constitution to take place in our counties, and therefore real peace to the organs of the organs of the county. But when we still keep on poking in the speaker's office as governors, that tells you that is total frustration. And let me tell you, it is totally going to deny the services to the people.
Well, one Wahome Thuku, in preparing us to what was to play out yesterday, tweeted and said Nyandarua County politics is set to heat up this week as the locals demand restatement of County Assembly Speaker Wahome Ndegwa. Residents have set Tuesday this week as the day to take Wahome back to the Assembly, which has refused to honor a series of court orders to allow him back in office. And the matter will be more complicated as the Speaker is expected to swear in newly elected Ruri MCA, that is Francis Muraya. Wahome has engaged the County Assembly in court battles for over a year now and, well, somehow won. The High Court has overturned his impeachment and ordered that he resumes office, but a section of the Assembly backed by the County Governor Francis Kimemie can't hear of it. The people are now tired. Well, whether they are or not is a question of course, what plays out there. They want the court orders obeyed. If the president obeys court orders so much, the Assembly should. The residents say they will take the Speaker to the Assembly on Tuesday and peacefully demand that he takes over his office. We will be discussing that, of course, as we proceed. Before we loop him in, the pictures that we saw yesterday, peaceful in any way?
I can tell you that it was not peaceful because at the point where the security officers were forced to throw tear gases, it tells you that the situation was okay. And to me, that is why I urge that, in fact, let us be cordial and allow the law to take place. Because here we have an impeachment process which was overturned by a High Court. And let me tell you, any High Court order supersedes any other process there before, and therefore gives power back to the Speaker. And therefore, anybody else with a different opinion should move back to court and challenge that decision. But you cannot be seen obstructing the law. Yes, because what is an order? Okay. An order is an order saying, yes, this process has been nulled, and therefore the previous is dead unless you start it afresh. And this is the position. And therefore the interpreters and the MCs should be well-legal interpreters because they are learned and they should not operate on a jungle. Okay. And therefore, can we at least pronounce ourselves as leaders and be seen obeying the law, the law of the land. Yes, when you are saying that you cannot obey a court order, then it tells you that you're operating from a jungle. Okay. Yes.
All right. Are you operating from a jungle, or is Nyandarua County operating from a jungle? Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, it has not been rosy for you, so to speak. Why do you suppose it is so? When you speak of, an impeachment process like twice, we speak of a scenario where the people have to bring you to your office. And I mean, I'd love to understand then what is the role of the people in this particular case when it gets to a point where it appears as though a majority...
But the people are the supreme.
They are supreme, yes. And I would want to believe...
In this matter, they are saying, we are not delegating. We want to exercise it direct.
Yes.
We want the Speaker back.
Yes.
Nobody can be able to overrule the voice of the people.
While they are supreme, it's not common that we see, the people.
It tells you that, leader, it has reached a point. This battle has been too much. Okay. At a point where the people are seeing there is no cure anywhere soon. And therefore they want to take the law back to their hands. And they are saying, yes, we are the people who constituted this particular county, and therefore we want to see things moving.
How challenging would it be for
what they cannot be able to do, they may not be able forcefully to do that.
Yes.
But it is better for them to create a perception that, yes, we are the people and we want to see things moving.
Yes. What bedevils you, honestly, Honorable Wahome? Because, like we have rightfully said, it's not been all rosy. What is the problem?
Okay, I think... leader, and I'm sorry I got disconnected.
It's okay.
Is that actually, as you have said, it has not been very easy for us. All these things started back in November, when the governor called all the MCAs in Nyandarua County to Nairobi and told them that Ndegwa Wahome is not wanted, and actually mentioned the name of the president. But we know the governor will always talk about how he is communicating with the president every day.
But is he not?
But he is not, obviously.
Is it so?
Yeah.
When
so
you speak of Kimemia, you know he's the who's and who's. Some have mistaken him to have been part and parcel of the deep state, or so to speak.
Yeah, there are those times. Because if you are talking to the president, you don't have to come and tell the people of Nyandarua every morning how you conversed with the president in the morning and how he sent his greetings. It normally does not happen that way.
Okay.
So he called all the MCAs in November and he told them that I was not wanted by the president, and therefore the MCAs were required to remove me from office. And immediately after he communicated to the MCAs that way, they were supposed to sign a motion to remove me, and at a hotel called the Syrian in Nairobi. Some of them refused to sign the motion and said they would want a confirmation from State House that actually this was an agenda of the president, because our president would reach out even to MCAs, even in Nairobi and elsewhere, when he wants a certain agenda to be prosecuted. Obviously, that evidence was not brought. When the governor found that there was no sufficient numbers to remove me from office, if you remember, is that they broke into the assembly on a Friday afternoon without a mace, without the staff, and declared that they had removed me from office. That is the desperation where Kimemia has gone to. Immediately after that, I moved to court and said there was no sitting. Even to talk about the resolution was actually pathetic. And the court overturned that, and they admitted in court that they made mistakes, and they be allowed to repeat the impeachment exercise. And actually, I'm saying this is not an impeachment by the assembly. The owner of the impeachment and the owner of the war in Nyandarua is Governor Kimemia.
For what reason?
The main reason is that Kimemia became very uncomfortable when I was elected to be the chairman of all the county assemblies in Kenya. And Kimemia believes, which I think he has reason to believe, that I am going to be contesting for governor of Nyandarua in the next elections. So now the governor is so desperate and he can do anything to ensure that he cuts me down. What he forgets is that I will not be the governor because I'm the speaker. I will be the governor because of what I have done for the people of Nyandarua since 2013. So after they were given an opportunity for a repeat impeachment, then they did the impeachment halfway reader during the debate in the assembly, on the floor of the assembly. It was said that Raphael Tuju, the Secretary General of Jubilee, had sent a WhatsApp message to the Deputy Speaker suspending 7 members who are known to support me from the assembly, and therefore they should not vote. And therefore they declared again they have removed me after suspending 7 members during the debate on the motion. Then I moved to court. I said even if they suspended the members, Article 194 of the Constitution is very clear. The threshold is 75% of all the members of the assembly, whether they are suspended or whether they are aware, 75% of all the members of the assembly. So the court said that motion never met the threshold, and then it was dismissed. Then they have gone for another impeachment, which was done on a Saturday. That is the 8th of May. I want to show you the desperation of Kimemia.
Yes.
On the 8th of May, on a Saturday afternoon. And then they again, the same grounds again, they said they have removed me. One of the MCAs you have seen talking there, called Kamau Gathongo of Leshaupod Ward, saying that you have to praise and worship Kimemia to have space in Nyandarua. He was said that he voted for the motion. When I was seated with him, and he voted no for the motion. Another member for Kajuri Ridge called Suleiman Kiheka Kimani voted no for the motion. Another member called Margaret Hilary voted no for the motion. But
you don't seem to have numbers. You don't seem to have numbers when it comes to these members of county assemblies.
No, Linda, the numbers is that I need only 25%. I have about 30%. What they need is the magical number 30. That is why they are corrupting even the numbers, saying members who on the floor of the House have voted against the motion, that they have voted for the motion. The last time they said, the Deputy Speaker had actually declared that there were 34 members present. 10 voted against the motion. They needed 30. So obviously those who would have voted for the motion is 24. But he declared that one had voted. I go to court. The members swear affidavits that they voted against the motion, and the court suspends, again, that resolution. And then what they declare is that Kimemia declares that court orders are mere pieces of paper and are not be allowed into that assembly again. And that is why the people of Nyandarua are agitated. And the people of Nyandarua are saying that EACC must conclude the corruption cases that have reported against Kimemia, because those are the reasons for the war in Nyandarua.
This was in favor of you. The people were agitated in favor of you. Allow me to cut you. And yesterday, from what it is that we saw, was, a scenario where they were hoping to get you back into the office. That wasn't peaceful in any way. Why does it have to get to that point? As a citizen who understands the importance of peace and tranquility, why would it be allowed, and why would you condone a scenario where such chaos would erupt?
Actually, Linda, it is quite unfortunate. I've never been associated with violence. That is why I've always, for the last 1 year, I've been in courts fighting for justice. And I'm known to uphold the rule of law. Yesterday, and these were peaceful demonstrators. If you saw them, at one point when the police started confronting them, all of them knelt down and raised their fingers, their hands. But the police drew tear gas canisters in their midst when they were kneeling down and raising their hands, showing that they have come with peace to that particular assembly. Therefore, I cannot and I will never support the chaos to happen anywhere in this country, leave alone in Nyandarua. Is
it true that you seek? Is it true then that you are likely to be the challenger, when it comes to the gubernatorial position for Kimemia, and therefore that is why he's pushing for this? And if such is your interest, then are you not worried that these pictures are going to detrimentally somehow compromise your interests?
Obviously, the people of Nyandarua, fortunately for me, Rita, the people of Nyandarua know who is the owner of this war. They know who is the owner of this impeachment, and they know why that the owner of this impeachment and the owner of the war, they know why he is doing all of this. Because I've personally, with evidence, lodged about 5 matters with the EACC, not because I want to be the governor, just because I want the resources of Nyandarua to be used prudently. And this is not from the speaker as a person. It is from the reports of the members of the assembly themselves. And I am the spokesman of the assembly. I have an obligation to the people of Nyandarua that whatever is resolved at the assembly is worked on. So immediately those reports are passed in the assembly, I write to the EACC, who are the investigating bodies, and to the DPP, who have prosecutorial powers. It is not from myself. Therefore, what I have asked Governor Kimemia is to just prudently use the resources of Nyandarua, respect the people of Nyandarua, and implement the budget for Nyandarua. Even him, when he came to Nyandarua in 2017, he found Governor Waithaka Mwangi.
Yes.
He is the governor now. I'll fight him in 2022. And if he has worked for the people of Nyandarua, he has nothing to fear.
Okay,
yes,
all the best to you.
At the same time, the Kimemia is not accepting a challenge, only a challenge from the speaker. He will be challenged by other many. So he shouldn't fear the challenge. What he should do is to do the best to the people of Nyandarua, so that any challenger who will come will be trounced.
Well, that is the side of the speakers, or the speaker's side of the story. Will be engaging Honorable Kimemia to get his side of the story on this one. And let's not delve deep into that, but because we are in the Mount Kenya region, the coronation of Muturi as we come to a close. Your speaker, all of a sudden missing in action. The next time you realize that now he is officially coronated as the spokesperson of Mount Kenya. This one challenged by some politicians and some elders too, and so much is happening.
Leader, what I can say is that, in fact, during what we call election times, and especially general elections, these kinds of coronations are traditional, and not only in Mount Kenya region. You find it elsewhere. There is Kaya in Coast. There is another team at we call them Sweet in Rift Valley. We have the team from Meru, and also we have those elders in our central region.
Yes.
And coming to the coronation of Muturi, my view to this, I would say it is his right. Because it is his personal right.
Okay.
If he wished to be coronated by elders, and elders
it is a right, but then it is.
No, what is happening?
Okay.
Is that unfortunately, these elders, there is no any single particular team, and especially in now the Muranga, because the case of Muranga now is the most ugly, where we have 2 or 3 warring groups. We have an elder team which are saying no, this is a shrine, and its purpose is not to do such kind of coronation, and therefore they are just about to go to sanitize and clear the mess that were done by the rest of the team.
Yeah.
But to me, I would say, yes, one, elders have disrespected themselves, because what the elders should do is to respect themselves first, and they must know what are their duty, what are their laws, and if they pronounce themselves to their laws, then they don't require to fight. And if it's a community, I think it's of essence that if you have 2 or 3 number of elders, it's better for them as early as possible to unite, so that they come up with one team of eldership that can be able to spearhead a destiny of a community. Okay. And in this particular case, if that could be the issue, today we couldn't have seen those kind of elements where we have a disputing eldership team and we have a puro eldership team. And therefore, it's like we have 2 warring groups.
Yeah.
To me, I would say, taking into consideration that Muturi probably is willing to wear the shoes of succession and becoming the Mount Kenya spokesman, to me, I have no problem. But that does not mean that being coronated is express ticket to become a president or either any political position.
Maybe that's the biggest fear.
Because political positions are given by the voters, not by the elders. And as we are not as good as those northeastern, because northeastern elders, sometimes they decide and their decision comes to the real. Yeah. But in our region, it is totally different.
Okay.
As we believe with the voter, and we believe whoever takes the majority vote is the winner. And that is it, because we believe in that democracy.
Okay.
So I have no problem with either route Muturi is taking. Probably he want to wear the shoes of succession, and I have no problem with him. But others will come up,
and
because the door is not closed for others.
Okay.
And therefore, what will matter at the end of the day is the camp that Muturi is willing to work with. He may arrange himself in the team which is against the will of Mount Kenya region. If he takes that route, then he will perish at the end of the day.
Okay.
If he decides the best camp to deal with, as long as the Mount Kenya region is concerned, then it will be good to him.
Well,
so the decision is his, and what matters a lot is which camp is he intending to join. Because in Mount Kenya region, it is divided. Then you must know, where are you?
Okay. Honorable Wahome, there you go. The jitters are out here, especially coming from politicians. And we all understand that there's that urge and quest to see who's going to be the next person who takes up the mantle from that is President Uhuru Kenyatta. And so as we talk succession politics, nationally, I mean, the region or in the, Mount Kenya is one that is also, speaking this in huge and in volumes, so that at least we get to know who's going to take up the challenge. And I mean, this probably is what caused the fears and that distaste, as many would come out to look at this as something that was uncalled for and maybe against what the people of Mount Kenya would wish for. What do you make of the coronation of Muturi? Does it speak volumes on what is likely to happen in the political scene, much as the elders maintain that it's just about spokesmanship?
Okay, thank you, Rita. What I would first wish to do is to congratulate Right Honorable Speaker Justin Muturi. And I would say that the steps he took in the journey to coronation was a huge step of faith and courage. And not many people would have been able to walk that path. So I really congratulate him for that. The other issue is that I'm very worried by the divisions I saw. Actually, the coronation became the talk around the elders and not even Muturi. Muturi's issue became a back burner issue because the fights were within the Council of Elders itself. So in Mount Kenya region, we have, especially among the Kikuyu, we have the Kiama, and then we have the Kikuyu Council of Elders. And these are the divisions we saw there. It was not about the personality of Muturi, and it was about supremacy battles. And I think those who are winning, they are those who never got the opportunity to be sitting at the high table with Muturi during his coronation. Yeah. So we are losing substance and content. But the most important issue is that I have even seen Right Honorable Raila Odinga being coronated as Kikuyu elder in Meru. And there was no problem with that. We have done it to the deputy president. We have done it to others. But this, Rita, is the time of realignment. There are those people who now would not want Muturi to be at the high table because of what it means to their political interests. You saw the Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Munya. He was there during the coronation of Muturi by the Jurin Cheke.
Yeah.
But now when he saw that Muturi is gaining a larger-than-life image, then he has turned around. Because he has seen now Muturi will be the kingpin for Mount Kenya East. He thought that it would end with only the Jurin Cheke. He found it happened with the Jurin Cheke, with the members of Elders. Now it has gone to Kikuyu. He turns around and says that that coronation was irregular. So therefore, this is about political realignment. But what I can assure you, as Mheshimiwa has said, we are not mainly moved or directed or influenced by what elders say, although we respect them, but obviously Muturi will play a very central role in where Mount Kenya is going. I would be expecting that the elders would now have been looking out on how to deal with Peter Kenneth, how to deal with Mwangi Kiojori, how to deal with Mwangi Wairia, how to deal with William Kabogo, all those leaders within Mount Kenya that we think we can put our bets on to serve our interests. Because obviously before we go out there, we have to first come together as Mount Kenya and decide what is good for our people.
Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, Chair County Assemblies Forum, thank you so much. Honorable James Gakuya, Member of Parliament in Bakassi North, Asante sana Mheshimiwa. You want to say something in 30 seconds? 30 seconds.
Rinda, I think the issues were too many. And we couldn't be able to talk about the future realignment of what was coming in the front page of the Nation paper about issues to do with power blessings given to the former Honorable
Raila Odinga, yes.
Now to bring back the foreign house of his ODM and also to reach to the One Kenya. Me, I would say these are political realignments and they are healthy. And this country allows what we call grand coalitions and super alliances. And therefore, I wish them all the best. They may sideline Ruto, but Kenyans may decide otherwise. So the decision is to the mighty Kenyans.
All right. Well, that's an interesting way to end it. And Mheshimiwa, 30 seconds. You'd love to say something?
Yes. Thank you, Rita. Rita, what I would want to say is to tell the people of Nyandarua that there will be calm after the storm, and that the rule of law in Nyandarua will be upheld, and that Nyandarua will be governed within the parameters of the law. And in Nyandarua, we are not creating demigods and emperors, and therefore everybody in their space will be guided by the constitutionalism, by the statutory provisions, by the rule of law, and that justice and fairness will be done for the people of Nyandarua in the fullness of time.
Thank you so much. All the best to the people of Kenya and the people of Nyandarua in particular. And gentlemen, asante sana for your time. We take a short break and we come back to a different conversation altogether as we look at